Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Deep Blue Renegade podcast. My name is Molly, also known as the Deep Blue Renegade, and I'd like to welcome you guys to episode 382. Today is Saturday, September 4th, 2021, and I'm glad you could join me today. What would it be? Still hanging. So, had everything gone to plan, I would be inside right now, but alas. So, I'm home, surrounded by a bunch of knitting, and life shall continue on. What would it be? And we'll be going on a day trip this week, so that'll be really nice. I'm looking forward to that. So I'm gonna drive down to Monterey and see the aquarium and do touristy things in a place that isn't the place I live in. Should be wonderful. Driving convertible down Pacific Coast Highway on a weekday. Because weekend traffic can be pretty nasty, so figured it was, what would it be, one thing worth taking a little time off to do, as you do. So what I just picked up is actually the brand new project, which is very exciting. So last week it was pretty warm, and it was a case where I was looking at my sweater quantities and like, you know what, I shouldn't knit the sweater quantity from 2015 because it's DK weight and we're getting into toasty season and it will be uncomfortable for what it be to have such a warm project on the needles for the potential of a 1 to 2 week window in the next 2 months that'll actually be warm. Probably shouldn't have worried about it. So I was like, okay, it's toasty, I'll knit one of my linen sweater quantities. Actually, this is more exciting than that. This is my last linen sweater quantity. So I ended up picking this up at Holly's Yarn Shop because I was hanging out there in 2019, and the owner, Susan, was actually going through the process of shutting the business down. She had looked for a new owner, hadn't been able to find one, and so she was like, okay. So all of her shibui went on sale, and I was hanging out there pretty frequently, and like as the sale increased and increased, I could not resist any longer. So I ended up picking up, I don't know, I believe I picked up 3 sweater quantities in the process of that, on top of other sweater quantities that I got in 2019, because that was a stressful year, kids. Whatever. So now it's more like, yeah, no, I should probably knit these very many sweater quantities I got already. So I picked up Shibui Knits Reed in, would it be a golden color, which I'm working with right now. A blue or whatever, I'm trying to think of. I believe the golden color is Pollen, the blue color is Shore. And then for actually the body of this, I picked up a purple called Velvet, because I know it's been a while since, whatever, we've all slept since I bought this yarn. So good news is that this is yarn in 50-gram balls, so at most this sweater is going to be 200 grams. And the pattern that I'm knitting is called Pimentone, which is by Claudia Eisenkolb. So German designer, I believe, I can't remember what linen she had designed it for, but she she actually has a whole series of really cute linen sweaters. Or would it be? And they're all named after fancy spices. Or would it be? I don't know. Does silk wrist count as a fancy spice? I think it does. Yeah, so she had this whole series of things, and so when I had bought the linen sweater quantity at SSK, however many SSKs ago that was, probably SSK 2017, I ended up knitting that linen because it was like I got it at House of Yarn. It was on mega sale. I got extra skeins of all of the colors, and I ended up having enough to make a dress. But when I was looking at patterns for it, that was when I ended up finding out about piment. So, and it's been an interesting journey so far, actually. Or I'm learning more than I thought I would. Would it be like, I don't know if you guys ever feel this way, but sometimes, would it be, it feels a little bit sometimes like there aren't too many frontiers of knitting to explore. It's like you start to figure out what works for you, and you're like, okay, that's good. But this is my first time doing contiguous shaping for sleeves, so that was cool. So, would it be? I was like, where does this belong on my body? And is this even facing? I think this is facing the right way. So, I'm getting actually pretty close to sleeve separation on this already, which is exciting. I definitely need a bit more room before it's ready. But yeah, no, so this is, what it be? So this is fingering weight. It has these big color blocks, and then we will eventually, I really like a project where you can just fit in such an itty bitty bag. I'll incorporate this. So I wanted the purple and yellow to touch. I think when I bought the yarn, I was planning on swapping it, but wanted the purple and yellow to touch. So that's what I did. And I've already used like a pretty decent amount of yellow already. But definitely way more of the blue. So it is quite urban-y. I've definitely seen versions out there that bring some stripes in onto the very bottom, and I might end up doing that just because I'm not, strictly speaking, a big fan of, or not strictly speaking, a big fan of crop sweaters. So, but hopefully it ends up all working out fairly well. And because I am going to Monterey Bay, if it turns out there's weird things going on, or I decide that I do need to do something a little bit different, I know that Monarch Yarns there does carry Shibui, because I bought some emergency Shibui to finish my my mohair silk merino cashmere epoxy. Just sounds decadent saying it out loud. So this is going to be a fun little knit tee. I'll probably wear a cami under it. It's almost marginal when you think of like neckline width and where my bra strap is, but whatever. I don't know why I care. So yeah, no, so I think it's turning out very nicely. I'm really excited about what the purple is going to add to this as well. Yeah, no, and let us say that none of us are surprised that I have used blue as my pop color. Surprises no one. Yeah. So the only, what would it be? what I maybe take like a little bit of issue to is, what would it be, like, not necessarily like inclusive sizing for the pattern, unfortunately. Um, I am knitting the size large. Normally I would be like knitting like a size medium, so not quite sure where the breakdown there ended up going. So that would be, I think, my only complaint about the pattern was that didn't necessarily have like an inclusive size range on it. It was like trying to be cognizant and avoid doing that. But apparently I failed today. Oh, but definitely something worth mentioning. So this is coming along pretty nicely. It seems like I do have quite a bit of knitting to go on this, but I am on vacation. I'm actually taking a break in between jobs, which is exciting. So it means going out in the world and doing things I haven't done before, and like errands I really needed to run a long time ago. What would it be? So that's the thought process there. So what would it be? Should be a good time. It's just also like a little bit of a weird time as well. I hadn't set up my phone correctly, and so when I disconnected my work email account from my phone, I lost all of the contacts I put in my phone in the last year and a half. Yeah. So I think I've changed my settings so it stops doing that, because that was not a feature I wanted to have. It also deleted all of my notes, so there weren't too many important notes, but there was one piece of work that I really wish hadn't disappeared there. But yeah, no, I guess that's what I get for Vodapie. It wasn't as good for safekeeping as I thought. Yeah, and Vodapie. So I'm trying to think of what else I would want to. Yeah, I would say the only other thing I wanted to comment on was it's been very interesting, like brain candy wise, and for like working a different type of sweater shaping. So it'd be the case where it's like set up in such a way that where you start off only doing increases for the front and back, not the sleeves, and so you have sort of a panel here going to your shoulder. And then after you make it to shoulder width, you start increasing for sleeves, but not the front and back. And now in this final section of the sweater, I am now, or this final section, sort of the contiguous shaping, I'm going into something that, is probably more familiar, where an increased rate and increased places, more in line with Raglan shaping. There we go. Took a moment to dredge that word up. So yeah. I'm also very congested right now, which doesn't help. So, making good progress on this. This probably means I'm not making great progress on the other project, but that was the other thing that ended up being a pretty good reminder. So I definitely had like a situation in which maybe the last time that I knit a linen sweater was the last time that I ended up knitting a linen sweater was probably 2019, I think. Yeah. And I ended up noticing forearm pain here, which is surprising because this hand doesn't really do a whole lot. I don't know, I guess it does do something. But would it be the case where I did notice a little bit of the pain as I was working on it? So it's probably a sign my body is giving me that's saying, don't knit with linen. So I will finish this and then be very excited that I have used up my linen sweater quantities and that I won't need to do it again. I don't know. Like, it is also, I am very impressed with how transparent this fabric ended up turning out as well. So definitely the case where I would like a cami under this to make that all hang together. So yeah, so it'd be the case where that was a good reminder to me of like, sure, this is a very versatile material, but no, this is not what I really enjoy working with. Yeah, and or would it be? So it'd be the case, and I don't know if this is like a compounding thing as well. Well, put this way, because technically speaking, my weekender is would it be? So that was made out of a cotton linen blend that I ended up holding with wool. So I don't know if that ended up shielding me from some of the nonsense, but it does mean that the care of the sweater is slightly more complicated because what wool wants is not what the cotton linen wants. And I knew that it was going to be okay because I knew the wool myset could hold up to what the cotton and linen wanted. So, hey. Probably need to drink this coffee a little bit faster. First coffee today. It was a slow start. Not like a totally slow start. There was waffles, but as you do. So I am still plugging away. So this is Sizzle Pop as square in DK, single color. And have I done a lot of work on it this week? About as much as I did last week. With maybe more because it has increased in size. So I've definitely done the annoying row at least once. It was the only thing that I brought with me to knitting on Monday. So the San Francisco knitters are meeting in person at a bar. But no one seems to want to hang out with us in the back of the restaurant, and that's a-okay. Sorry, I realized I dropped something. I don't know if I dropped stitches or I never finished the row or whatever. I don't know. I actually did get this into a pretty good place. So I was knitting in the bar and I reached the point and it was like, oh crap. I did a 1 into 3 increase instead of a 1 into 5 increase. And so I was trying to contemplate how I was going to fudge it to make it look right. And whatever, my Monday night knitters were like, do it right. So it would be where the most ultimate right thing would have been to revert back to that point, but I definitely did not want to do that. So what I ended up doing was dropping down to that increase, making the 1 to 3 a 1 into 5, and then carrying that back up the stack again. And so what would it be? So that meant it was sort of like a little bit tight, but there was enough rows that it just sort of evened out in the end. So you can't tell anymore that it was there, but I left the marker in there so I could talk about it. So the only reason that I managed to get away with it was actually the increase section, and so I hadn't started decreasing on top of it, so that just meant that it was contained to just that section. And like all of the subsequent increases on top of it. So, well, it might be like a little weird, maybe, but there's still like a strong line. Actually, I'll put this the other way because that's actually the relevant one. So it might be like a little funny and goofy looking in places, but it's probably close enough for what I needed. Most of it, I think, was just sort of getting the illusion of the stitches right, and then there needed to be like a little bit of zhuzhing. So nothing too drastic. So let it be. But I haven't finished off the repeat yet. I think I've just done one row past that at this point. So we shall leapfrog the stitch marker to whatever. We'll go the one below for now. Yeah. So would it be I definitely so much yarn left. I know that there's so much yarn left, I'm not going to translate to a lot of like shawl size. It's just would it be? I haven't yet decided what would it be if I'm going to call it when I'm out of yarn, or if I am going to call it when I'm out of will. So what would it be? But good news is it is fairly straightforward knitting. I'm savvy enough with brioche that I can fix big mistakes like that without getting angry and throwing it in a fire. But I have like a tape measure handy somewhere, maybe. I have a lot of snaps from Southwest. Here we go. So, would be, well, I think some of this just sort of depends on how you do actually want to use it. Yeah. So right now, sorry, the challenge of this is making sure that I'm actually like appropriately spread out. Yeah. So it's like, I don't know, I probably should be measuring from there anyway, but it's like 26 inches. So not really a shawl size. Isn't like I really had other plans with the yarn. It was enough yarn that I could have probably knit a sweater for myself, but whatever. It'll be okay. So, it may just be like a leapfrog activity, so it'll be the case where I'll work on some Ooh Shiny and I'll work some on this. But when I finish my Ooh Shiny, I should probably at least spend a little bit of time getting some distance on this. And I think there would be like sometimes in the projects that aren't would it be when it's in that more sloggy stage. So, another tape measure. When it's in that more sloggy stage, sort of understanding and being kind to figure out, like, okay, well, you definitely want the thing. So, but yeah, so that's pretty. It's lovely. It will be great when it's done. Oh, you could probably, honestly, that's probably the quantification of goodness, right? Is folding it in half. It does look very nice. This would be like the alternate reality in which you were working this more as triangle shaping, instead of the alternative. So, totally possible to do. Not as many things that I end up seeing being done, but such as life. And then it's, what would it be? Like, could there be fiber fun time this weekend? Because it is, what would it be? It is a holiday weekend. Maybe. But for the moment, what would it be? Like, I probably need to take my bags of fiber here and move them closer to the drum carders so that I actually finish that step. What would it be? And then I've definitely pulled out yarn and needles for another cast on that didn't rise to the point of me actually doing it quite yet, as you do. Or it was sort of the opposite problem. I went to go put away the Neptune for my lace and decided there actually wasn't a good place to put it, and so then I took other balls of Pumice and pulled it out to use it in another project. So it was like the intention was to put it away, but the reality was that I just rejiggered some yarns in the stash so that I could. Yeah, no, I probably do need to need to consult with one of my knitting friends, because, or would it be? Because what would it be? They have expertise in an area of knitting that I do not have. And it seems like they do a very excellent job. So, and the other thing that I'm contemplating, which what'll probably end up happening, is I will bring it for discussion with my Thursday mentors tomorrow, because every 2 weeks we meet outside in Berkeley, and it's very lovely, good for sanity. There's a potluck. I'm bringing peach, tomato, onion, burrata salad with red wine vinegar, olive oil, salt, pepper, and basil. The bounty of summer will be in my bowl. So, or would it be? Because I often try to bring something savory, because it is functioning as my lunch, and if everyone brings baked goods, then it seems to function less good as lunch. And we're supposedly meeting in the rooftop of one of their apartments, so I'm excited. There's some shade and seating. We have been doing actually a lot of meeting in another member's backyard, and they have a very, very nice backyard. But would it be? I think would it be? She's busy with a lot of end of summer stuff, so we can't use her place right now. My backyard well, festive does not have shade or seating, and a lot of orange Home Depot buckets and coral, or would it be live rock that is now dead? Would it be? So, giant coral skeleton platforms. It's aesthetic. Power washer. The letter. What this really means is that we need shit. But whatever. Or to use our garage. Options. So, could I record outside? Sure. Is the outside aesthetic? Not as much as this room. Oh well. So, would it be? So, will there be some action on the fiber front? Maybe. Would it be? I think part of that actually depends on if I decide to do like another Instagram video. Just playing with the drum carder and doing that sort of stuff. Would it be like it's like deciding if I should make it a priority to use this enhanced fun or whatever. Questions like that. And then it was the case where, what was it, a friend was casting on a ranunculus, and then I was thinking maybe it would be cool to do the ranunculus. Would it be, unfortunately, another pattern that isn't super duper size inclusive, but I could make a super molly ranunculus. But then that also means delaying casting on more handspun projects. Speaking of that, would it be, I was like doing like a quick cruise of Ravelry, and then I noticed that no one had started the September-October Sock Knitters Cal, and then I looked up and I was responsible for starting the September-October Sock Knitters Cal. So I wrote a quick post, asked for suggestions on ideas, and so Vicki Licious actually had a really cool idea that spoke to me, and so she put forth having the theme of discovery. So that's what I'm going to be hosting for the next 2 months. Will I be casting on socks? Maybe. One long-going experiment that I've been having is about handspun socks. And so in 2017, I spun a lot of sock yarn, and I have knit one of those yarns into socks, and actually I'm quite impressed. They are holding up really well, and even though I have been wearing them a lot, and that was an opposing ply structure, so still 3-ply yarn, but I did, whatever, I set it up in such a way where I ended up plying the sock yarn twice, and ended up spinning the singles in such a way where that made for at least sort of balanced yarn, as opposed to I'm wearing these handspun socks. So they're not too crazy. They're a little bit fuzzy and fluffy. I have needed to repair them a couple of times. I think that this was a merino nylon blend with sparkle. I probably could have knit a much more aggressive pattern, but I might still have enough yarn. I might still have enough yarn that I could knit more, or I probably have enough extra. I could knit a whole nother pair, especially if I had contrasting heel toes and cutoffs. So that's what it'd be. It'd be the case where this was, I think, the first time I knit like more of like a sock specific blend for socks, and it seems to be doing a little bit better, but the traditional 3-ply structure doesn't seem to be getting it over the finish line in terms of versus the quality I see with commercial stock yarn. So I have another opposing ply that I ended up doing the singles 2 different ways, and then plied it all together at once. It's really gorgeous colors. And then I also have cables. So there's definitely going to be some cables. I'm pretty sure that the chain ply just isn't turning out the way I really hope for with that. There are apparently some clever things to do, sort of having like a hybrid of chain ply and what have you. I don't know. I was noticing Sarah, who is PAing it with, talking about that. I was like, oh, it does sound interesting. So instead of chain plying with a single set of singles, what you do is you chain ply with 2 sets of singles, and you alternate which chain you're pulling from. So some of it, so it's like 4 ply, but then they have whatever chain ply length color blocks in them. It was like, how big a chain ply can you make? How far is it from the reveal to how far you can stretch? While still traveling. I don't know that I care enough to try making that yarn, but I have never thought of it before, and it was interesting. And it's not like I pulled out my, I have the Knitter's Book of Yarn Designs by Sarah Anderson, and so that was, I think, what spurred me into going down this exploration, and then I did Netflix. So I could do some of that as a part of that discovery theme, or would it be, it was the case where I tried to make it pretty broad, so one of them was like looking for your oldest yarn, discovering what it is that has been living in your stash for a long time. Any experiments that you wanted to do with regards to construction or yarn choice or fiber breed. And then what would it be? So the theme was appealed to me as an engineer and scientist, and sort of encouraging that playfulness, in addition to sort of being able to cover a lot of bases. So I thought it sounded pretty cool. Hey, maybe it'll be a flop. Who knows? There was also a pretty strong contingent that was into the ugly yarn. I was contemplating just doing oldish yarn because that is a theme as well. My oldest yarn is Regia from the Dingaling in Lafayette, Indiana, and the Dingaling closed in 2011. So it's been a decade. But yeah, no, somewhat or whatever. But I figured you could fit it into the theme if you wanted to, because there definitely is some work and research that you need to do to find out. So who is the oldest? What has been around the longest? That sort of thing. And then the other aspect was nature and science. So whatever. It was if you would like to join in, it's happening in the Sock Nerds group. I am the hostess, at least sort of trying. Oh well. And I might cast on a pair of socks for my own cow, as you do. Would it be? It could be discoveries, doing research to find out what pattern you need in order to make your ugly yarn look good. Options. But I don't know. It was a case where it just spoke to me. I gifted Vicky Licious a pattern. So would it be? Because But when you spend the time to come up with a theme, what it be? It's a nice thing to do. And actually it was one that I had already bought, so it was slightly interesting trying to, because it turns out I couldn't gift the pattern from my phone. I had to go to my computer. So I took care of that before I started podcasting today. But yeah, no, the double dipping opportunities would be pretty good if I was doing hands-on socks, and that could count for the Fluff to Stuff. Fluff to Stuff is ending in November. And I really just, or would it be? Because one thing that I have been thinking about, at least to a certain extent, is how or would it be like, is it time to start the Romney project, or is it not time to start the Romney project? And do I need to knit the hand spun that I've been sampling to really pin this down? So that's what it be. So that's the only thing that I haven't. Spinning mojo hasn't been super high. Would it be I haven't, or would it be I don't have, but there hasn't been much show watching this week, so there might be a decent amount of show watching would be during this week off, but who knows, it might be the case where I just sort of wander around aimlessly doing entertaining things or what have you. Like, honest to goodness, like, one of my plans is just to decide that day what I'm making. So it would be, because normally, like, I do like a grocery shop like once a week, and I have like a meal plan, and I make sure I have all my ingredients, and I'm filling in staples I've used up, and so that takes like a lot of time and planning and that sort of thing. But for this week, it's more like I ended up going to the store to pick up ingredients for like my potluck dish for tomorrow, and I was just like cruising the rest of the store to see if there was something interesting, and the butcher was putting the steak out. I'm like, oh, that's good looking ribeye. I need that ribeye. I didn't know that I needed that ribeye, but I do now, and it was delicious. I didn't necessarily get the other proper accoutrements for it, but whatever. I tried. Yeah, I was satisfied. I was happy. Would it be? I think there is actually a plan of making something that would then result in me not needing to cook at all. So it's quite possible I'm just going to be resting on my laurels for a while. Would it be? But I guess I'm really hoping that like that the meetup does occur, because there has been some talk because of like the air quality index and stuff like that. So that's like, I think, the challenge of fall in the Bay Area, because there are so many big wildfires going on, and specifically the one that's probably affecting us is the Caldor Fire, which is near South Lake Tahoe. And so would it be? It'd be the case where it's like, this why am I more congested? Is this why my throat's a little froggy? My computer is hopefully saying the air quality index is 70 right now. Yeah, so like last year we didn't necessarily get like an air purifier for the house, but maybe we should for this year. Would it be? So this is the challenge of living out west, is that you're in like a constant state of drought, and because of that drought, the wildfire risk is high, and because they're sort of hemmed in by mountains, if smoke gets here, it stays for a really long time. And really the only way to clear smoke out of the air is for it to rain. which it hasn't too much recently. It might have sprinkled a bit Wednesday or Thursday this week, but you could see the outlines of the cars under the rain. So it was an infinitesimal amount of rain. I just didn't get the car underneath the car's wet. It was like waterfall from the sky. I was exciting. So it's just being open-eyed about the types of climate risk you have based on the area you live in. What would be probably the flip side of that is the climate risks for living near the coast and living in areas where hurricanes are sweeping by and all of that other stuff. So crazy times we live in, that's for sure. But yeah, so that is most of the excitement there. I will probably end up talking more about the new job in a couple of weeks after I've actually started. What'll be, I'm gonna have to learn how to use a Mac. It's gonna be weird. Hopefully it'll be fine. So I'm just gonna enjoy my week off in the meantime and call it good. Should be fine. Yeah. So with that, I hope you guys have a lovely week, and I look forward to talking to you guys next week. So take care, guys. Bye bye.